All right, the Amrita factor of radiant whole being. I want to set the stage first, a little preliminaries and some introductory framework. This is the first time I have presented this material. There was a gestation period and a lot of activity, other activities in my life, and I was waiting for the birthing, and the birthing kind of happened yesterday and today. Some new inspirations came to me that I'm going to share with you that I've shared with nobody before, except my fiance, Lynn. And so I'm looking forward to that. It's somewhat a living experiment. I want to see what can unfold from this. I'm not sure. I have high aspirations. And, so we're in this spiritual experiment together and hope for powerful initiatory activity to happen as a result of this. And I'm looking forward to see getting your feedback, comments, and your sharing and questions. All right, so that's general framework. I feel a little nervous and also excited. I have this high perfectionism bar, and that's okay. I've learned to live with it. Okay, so Amrita. Maybe a number of you have heard the term, some may be new to you. It's a Sanskrit term. One term for it is nectar. So the nectar factor of radiant whole being. In Sanskrit, it literally means immortality. In the text, it is referred to as divine nectar or ambrosia. There's this one quote that says, "A one-taste elixir that bestows bliss, vitality, immortality, and wisdom." So another term for it, for Amrita, is the nectar of immortality. I'm using this term Amrita factor to refer to the nectarous love bliss of being. This love bliss factor of being. I'm also using it in a broader, more poetic manner to refer to divine sweetness, the happiness, capital H, of being, divine beauty, the magic of love, and spiritual ecstasy. Also poetically, it's the nectarous love sweetness of being infused with bliss. Another poetic term, the sweetness, magic, and beauty of existence. So it's like the sweet spot of being. So I want to put this in a context of my experiences of this, as this is what this is based on. So in the past, when I was a spiritual seeker, I had read about this term. This was involved with Adida, those of you who know this very famous and big teacher who is no longer in the physical body. And he talked about radiant, divine love bliss and transcendental consciousness. But this term, radiant, divine love bliss, captivated me, and I wanted to learn more about this. So, okay, so we skip forward to the year 2000. I had my, what we called back then, the second birth awakening in 1995, August. So this is 5 years into my awakened life. And I'd say it was kind of more, there was a way in which there was an equanimity and the enjoyment of the seamless unity of consciousness and matter, conscious phenomena. But my life was, I felt, well, it kind of had blended together. It was a little beige. I call it a little, maybe flat is too strong a word, but there was a certain kind of equalized evenness, general wellness. So I had these experiences of centerless, uncaused love in my awakening. And love is a big part of my being. And I was, very much interested in exploring divine love. Okay, so a friend, Jen Mayall, who's one of the teachers of Trillium, told me about this teacher who was visiting named David Sparrow. So I said, well, I want to check this out. So I went to her condo, sat down there in the living room, a beautiful sitting. And then I was, and still am, I evaluate awakenings. Back then we called it second life, second birth interview. And so I was kind of figuring out, what's his awakening? What's this dude's awakening? Sure. I wasn't doing that, but inside I was. And about midway through the gathering, he said, don't listen to me, just feel me. Okay. So I let go of the discrimination, evaluation, and just open and feeling. Just open and feel. And it was, I think during the meditation, something in this, in the course shortly after this, I don't know, it was 10, 15 minutes, not real long, I started to feel blissful. I described it as a love swoon. It was like a love bliss intoxication. It was like I was drunk. And it lasted for a while. It was the most bliss I had experienced up to my life at that point. So this was my first experience of radiant, divine love bliss. And it had residual effects. This transmission had residual effects. So afterwards, it was metaphor like the black and white movie got colorized in life. And I felt like I was in love without a particular object, particular person. So I was like, felt happier, kind of zippity doo da, zippity yay, you got that. And I'm going, what is this? This is something I want to deepen and explore further. So it has since then something I've continued to deepen and explore in. And I have spent time with David Sparrow a lot to get immersed in the transmission. And I wanted to be able to be immersed in it, to, in a way, be irradiated by it, so that perhaps I could transmit that and share this with others in my, work as a spiritual coach, spiritual teacher. So that's the framework for where this Amrita factor of radiant whole being began and got its genesis. So I want to set a context for this, because we have belief systems and imprinting, spiritual imprinting, that I carried that I've had to undo. And we all have our own version of this. So I want to set a frame for my perspective. It doesn't mean it's the only perspective or it's right, but it's my current orientation that I want to share with you. subject to revision. As I grow and deepen and awaken life, things get revised and new frameworks open up and new perspectives. So I want to offer this kind of framework remodeling. Okay. So in a number of schools of Eastern spirituality, bliss and Shakti, or divine energy, are considered to be distractions from the realization process. And bliss and Shakti, capital S Shakti, are considered to be spiritual phenomena and junior to the junior and therefore inferior to the senior and unchanging transcendental awareness or consciousness. So consciousness or Shiva is senior and Shakti, divine energy, is junior. So that's one perspective that we've learned. And there's a softer version of this kind of perspective is found in the older core Dharma of waking down. So I wanted to expand the Dharma because I'm going, hey, I have experienced this radiant divine love bliss, and we're not accounting for this fully. And I had talked to Sanyal about the bliss, the element of bliss, and he said he didn't want students to be distracted. He wanted students to be able to clarify consciousness, transcendental awareness. And in his spiritual school with Adida, in simple terms, the bliss and Shakti, the love bliss and the Shakti energy were considered to be distractions because it didn't awaken people. So, so to simplify things, kind of the bliss, love, and divine energy, Shakti, kind of got put to the back burner, and there was a focus on consciousness and phenomena, consciousness in the body, which allowed for a lot of very direct, many embodied consciousness awakenings, second births, initial whole being realizations to unfold in abundance. But there's other aspects of all-inclusive whole being that have gotten, let's say, less consideration and maybe even for some people kind of forgotten. And then also to round out the picture, there are consciousness only schools, the Advaitic type schools, where they consider that consciousness or transcendental primordial awareness is the divine self and is real with a capital R, and any phenomena, anything that changes, is not real and is not the self, capital S. And you'll encounter this a lot. So it kind of splits existence into the not real stuff that changes, phenomena, and the real, the self, as consciousness, transcendental awareness. And so that's leaving out half of existence. Okay, so I'll just leave that one there for that. So just to say, any spiritual model that we put forth, is necessarily going to be lacking and incomplete, because you can only say one thing at a time, and you can't describe all inclusive allness or the totality of existence, total being, which is simultaneously transcendental and material. And we could only use a model or words to kind of point at that, which is ineffable, undescribable, and just totality. You can't say totality. You can't, and all inclusive whole being or whole isness is not some supreme object that you can separate out and experience, because it is everything and there's nothing outside of it, and we are already that. So you can't merge with something that you are already, and you can't describe it. But there are three aspects of all-inclusive whole being that we can experience or recognize. So the first aspect we have mentioned already, the transcendental consciousness, or transcendental primordial awareness, the ground of awareness, unchanging awareness. Capital E, emptiness. Capital S, space. Capital S, silence. All the phenomena arises in this transcendental awareness, unchanging. So we call that in East Shiva. Okay, then the second aspect of all-inclusive whole being is the supreme divine love, which is all-inclusive, all-embracing, all-pervading, unconditional, supreme divine love. And I wrote, to say this supreme, under this category of supreme divine love, includes the inherent and self-arising bliss, capital S, bliss. So I put that together in that love basket. And I wrote in the introduction something like this: supreme divine love is the all-embracing divine love fabric. That could be, I know, I messed that up. It's the all-embracing divine love matrix, which could be considered to be the fabric of existence, this supreme love matrix. I'll skip to the punchline I say later, but I want to say it now, that from my perspective, divine love and bliss are the heart of existence. I'll say more about that. It's wonderful to have Rod here because we have a similar orientation, and he's going to be doing a wonderful retreat on whole being love. So more enrichment on this area there. Okay, so the third aspect, the Kundalini Shakti current. You've heard of Shaktipat. I experienced that Shaktipat. So this is the Kundalini Shakti energy, the biocosmic being current. This is the vibratory current that infuses all of existence, and can be experienced. There are different versions of it, but it's the living current, and it's not just confined to the spine, but it permeates all of existence. And so this is also part of this enlivenment is also part of the Amrita nectar factor. Now, also, I want to say at this point, and this reveals itself as we deepen and awaken life. It's also, let's say, a fully inclusive orientation where there is nothing but all-inclusive whole being, which is simultaneously and paradoxically both transcendental and material. So there's transcendental being and materialized being. So the entire physical plane is none other than materialized whole being in a materialized form. So from that perspective, taking these three aspects of all-inclusive whole being, you could consider that we are materialized consciousness in a materialized manifested form. We're materialized divine supreme love in a materialized manifested form, and we're materialized divine Shakti energy in a manifested material form. So this is what we're made of. The whole world is made of this. The whole existence is made of this. It's not something outside or just in some subtle spiritual realm. All right. And I use a metaphor of, that term, as above, so below. So just as we have a body and a heart and circulation system, my metaphor is called the body of existence. So the body of existence, the body or ground of the body is transcendental awareness, or transcendental consciousness. That's the body, the ground. Then the supreme divine love is the heart of the body. And it's all one event, one happening, an inseparable, singular, unified field or unity. And then there's the Shakti energy of the body, the energy or blood of the body, the juice of the body, and that's the Kundalini Shakti energy. So existence is this whole body, it's a whole body of these, in simplified terms, of these three aspects. So it's not existence, and all-inclusive whole being is not just consciousness. Consciousness or transcendental awareness is important and significant. And you could say it's a key element of the realization process, because it allows us the capacity to not be exclusively identified with the body, mind, and all that arises. We can be the both and of being the body and also not exclusively identified with it, and recognizing that we're both the sandwich or simultaneity of divine and human. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I want to talk about the potential, the topic of different flavors of bliss. And then we'll have a question and answer time shortly. So in terms of the term bliss, we could say there are different flavors of bliss. Now, one way of looking at this, we could say there's a bliss of consciousness, and perhaps that could be experienced as a spacious equanimity or serenity. There's also the radiant enlivenment and blissful pleasure of the energetic fullness in the body, which could be called the bliss of the Shakti current, the spirit current. And then there's the range of bliss from contentment to ecstatic intoxication, from the inherent self-arising divine love and bliss. But for simplicity's sake, I'm just saying that this term radiant, just trying to simplify it and saying we'll just refer to radiant divine love bliss as the inherent part of the fabric of existence and not subdivided. So we'll just lump it together as radiant divine love bliss. There can be different flavors and expressions of bliss. And then another subtle distinction I wanted to share before we have questions. You can have, okay, this is splitting hairs a little bit. You can have bliss without a lot of love. And then I tend to experience it more together, like love hyphen bliss, where there's both this all-embracing love and this blissfulness, and there's different ranges of expression of the bliss. So I like the term love bliss. And when I use the term radiant divine love bliss, that adds the element of this Kundalini Shakti current. I find they tend to be, generally speaking, mixed together, a lovely hybrid blend of the Shakti current, the divine love, and the bliss. So the long name would be radiant, the energy, divine energy, the love hyphen bliss. But when I use the term just generally, the bliss term, capital B, I'm generally referring to this package, hybrid package of radiant, divine love bliss. So that's kind of how I frame and use my terminology. And there's that famous Hindu term, which we won't define now, Sat Chit Ananda, but the Ananda part refers to this bliss. Okay, so that's a lot of talking on my part. This is a presentation. So, but now I want to open up to hear from you for any questions or comments. So if you have a question, you could raise your hand, like physically, since we're a small group. Yes, Cory.
Yes, Van. Yeah, I enjoyed your presentation. I'm curious about you using the term Kundalini and how that relates to the waking down transmission, if you make a distinction there.
The term, the Kundalini?
Yeah.
Okay. There are different terms that could be used. It could be being current, spirit current, life current, divine energy, capital E energy, Shakti energy, Kundalini. I put in Kundalini in there because some people relate to that term. And a lot of people have studied Eastern traditions. Some of it is poetic, like divine energy is not as romantic and juicy as Kundalini Shakti energy current. So you could even just call it simple capital E energy. The part of juicing up the term poetically is to give people impression this is big stuff. It's not just a little divine energy. You feel a little buzz, little divine. This is like the energy of the universe. And I received Shaktipat from Swami Muktananda, and David Sparrow has a very powerful blend of, in his transmission of the very strong transcendental consciousness, what he calls a micronized kind of fine, refined, digested Shakti current that's very gentle but powerful, and the love bliss, divine love and bliss, and then the unity of existence, the singular nature of existence also gets magnified. That's like way oversimplified, but I also did deepen in the Kundalini from the transmission of David Sparrow. Now, it is also part of the waking down transmission, you could say. And that's another longer term, longer discussion. But also, people in the early days of waking down, we called it, people would get Shakti fever from the transmission. Like they may have had difficulty sleeping the night after, Sanyal sitting. And I remember feeling a lot of times kind of a buzz and pressure and pleasant tingling in my body from the sitting. And I would often go after Sanyal sittings out to nature to balance out and share the buzz, energetic buzz, and feeling that also permeating all of nature and the trees and the surroundings. But that's another topic, also the different flavors of transmission of different individuals. And that's one of the rich things of Trillium with, so many teachers, 30, 40 teachers, you get, 30 to 40 different flavors of transmission within a generalized kind of signature kind of similarity also. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, the thing that I'm like curious, like, so there was a different flavor which it sounds like when you speak, I've listened to when you talk, that you kind of integrated from David Sparrow that was a bit different from what you got from Waking Down by the sound of it.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about this later.
But you're saying Adida did the same thing. Did Sanyal not get that flavor as well? I'm just curious.
Oh, well, no, my orientation is it's a different variant. This is a different variant. It's in the. Okay, I was going to talk about this in the later part, but I'll bring it in here since you're asking. Very, very astute question, Cory. It's Mother, Divine Mother. I'm in the oriented to the feminine face of God, the feminine heart of being. I use a generic term like the Supreme Divine Mother, the womb of existence. That's my spiritual aesthetic. Whole divine being has no gender. We could call it he, she, it, all capitals. I'm oriented to the ultimate as Supreme Mother, but there's no gender. I was going to go this later, but for those, there was a person who in a past sitting I did that didn't like the idea of gender of divine being. So you could call it just the Supreme Beloved, but I came up with a neutral term that you could call, let's say, Supreme all-inclusive being, any name. It is just a energetic number of letters with energy, a vibration of it. So my neutral name for the allness would be Mahasoma. So it's very neutral. Instead of the Supreme Divine Mother, we can call it Supreme Mahasoma. And so it has no baggage connected with it. But so that's why there's let's say, I think my leanings of appreciation, I have a devotional side, and just how my soul nature is wired up, I'm oriented to in the Divine Mother lineage, and not just as only as Shakti as Divine Mother, but as the ground of being. Let's say as the Supreme Divine Mother is the womb of existence out of which Shiva and Shakti arise. So that's kind of my orientation, and that's a different flavor of transmission if we're going to split hairs than someone who is more Shiva oriented, even though it may be a mixture. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it's not like it's another word for Mahadevi.
Exactly. Oh, you really know a lot. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, it's I'm in the Mahadevi orientation.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's flavors, Mahadevi flavors the transmission a little differently.
Okay.
That's my current understanding. These things are so hard to talk
Aditya
about.
was very in the masculine. Is that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. He's the one who said that Shiva is senior and Shakti is junior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That clarifies.
We could have some long conversations, Cory.
I want to do a session with you. So.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. We spent enough time with Cory. So any other questions or comments at this point? He's pulled me out of the closet. Okay, Rod, and then Stormie. Okay.
Yeah, fun to hear your creative languaging, Van. And I can translate it easily for myself, but in terms of just languaging, I know in my work that I've gone out of my way not to use Sanskrit and so on, as a way to maybe invite anyone into the full realizations that we're having. But I love the stimulation. I can hear them in your words and the enlivenment. And I was thinking that, our natures, our spiritual character natures, meaning the awakened, but yet still having form nature, will shine the divine through certain styles.
Yes.
But it's not exclusive. It's actually whole being,
Yes.
and so I notice, my nature is not in quite that place. It's more transcendent perhaps, but I'm living in the field of the matrix of love. Yes. And the sacred in existence and in the flow of love. And I wouldn't say it, I wouldn't use your languaging exactly, but your languaging impacts me and is true.
No.
So I just wanted to enjoy that with you. And those three key components that you mentioned reflect the three petals of the Trillium work, just at a very refined and more refined condition. And so it's like open and honor when that shows up, but fear not if it's not showing up, because it's coming. All right. For those who are deepening, enlivening, integrating.
Yeah. Well, I thank you, Rod. I like to make it more explicit, more user-friendly, more obvious in terms of the three aspects. And I want the Trillium umbrella to be big, very wide, so that everyone's the broad range of spiritual orientations, just due to our soul nature, are embraced under the Trillium umbrella. And there are those people, I think we're in a minority, the devotional types, and maybe more oriented towards the feminine face of God, that I have a strong discrimination side, but also this strong devotional side. So I want to make room and welcome for those who have a more devotional nature and be more the Mahadevi folk. But I want the umbrella and embrace very, very wide. Okay, so Stormie.
Yeah, I'm not sure what my reception's like. Hopefully I don't break up too much.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay. I'm just so excited that this is a topic of discussion. It's like, what a beautiful exploration. And I love that you touched on, correct me if I'm wrong, but like this is that this sort of love bliss is part of the fabric of existence.
Yes.
And I thought about sort of being in a field where like the grasses have reached their pinnacle and are flowering, and there's an ecstasy in the air from that occurring. But I love this discernment and this pointing, and I'm like, oh, it's like there's something about discerning it then you can I can then explore it deeper because you've pointed, even though it's an experience that maybe I've had, but sort of
Yes.
I'm just enjoying myself. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much,
Well,
Ben.
that's
great.
the Amrita factor. This weaves in what I was going to say following this, that this is part of the Amrita or nectar factor is part of everyday life. It's not just in deep meditation where you're going into bliss, but this magic of and beauty that shines forth, in nature, the sunset, or a baby, or your pet looking at you adoringly, and the love, and you're just, touched by that. And the picture I was gonna share is that I'd say through immersion in this divine love bliss transmission, it has kind of raised the baseline through repeated immersion, kind of raised my baseline of in the spectrum of radiant divine love bliss. So I'd say the baseline would be a sense of contentment. Okay, and then let's say additional amount of that would be, let's say, some euphoric feelings, just speaking very simplistically. And then these occasional waves happen of heightened, more intensified radiant divine love bliss that have an intoxicating quality. So like a drunkenness. So I call that love bliss intoxication, where it can feel as if being stoned or inebriated on alcohol, like a drunkenness where there's an obvious ecstatic blissfulness. So but that's not steady. These are like organic, natural waves that happen in their own organic time. And but definitely, the kind of baseline gets elevated. And so I'm hoping in the meditation that I'm going to be doing a little later, I'm hoping there can be some, in this immersion, some initiation and activation to heighten the inherent and self-arising love bliss. It's something that is part of existence, and just it is part of our whole being. And love bliss is spontaneous and natural. That's what inherent. It's part of existence, the fabric of existence, and self-arising. It arises spontaneously, organically, naturally. That's why I don't consider it just a simple distraction and phenomena, because you can have bliss. It changes. It is not a steady amount of bliss. It has its own organic ways, but it's inherent and self-arising, and therefore I consider this is an aspect of all-inclusive whole being. So you're there, and giving voice to this. That's the Amrita factor, and it shows itself and expresses in different ways. And those are the ways. So I just want to weave it into everyday life. It's not just only in deep meditation, though. In meditation, sometimes it can very much significantly intensify and magnify. Okay, so let's see. David?
I just have a quick question.
Okay.
You've been able to somehow David's transmission has affected you in a certain way, because I think that if you just talk about it quickly, says somehow you've been able to absorb it and integrated into yourself in a way that's a lot different than the way he expresses himself. You know what I mean? It's a lot easier to listen to you, to be honest with you, than it is to listen to him. And I just have to really kind of applaud you for that, and just question a little bit how you were able to actually do that, or actually how that whole process was, how he actually allowed you to just come forth the way that you have.
That's a very good question, and I could talk an hour on that, but I'll just give a Reader's Digest version. My sense is that I'm a love bug. It's part of my soul nature, and so it's probably from previous lifetimes of, like, I'm oriented to divine love and bliss, and not just that, but that is of primary importance to me. So I think I resonated with it, and that arose in my pre-awakening process and awakening process, the centerless uncaused love and the aspects of the radiant bliss. So I think it's part of my soul nature. I believe this is part of the experiment, that it's we're all materialized divine beings. So this radiant divine love bliss is what we are. Not only that, but that is part of what we are as divine and human beings. And this is inherent in us. So I'm hoping that through our being together, transmission and sharing, that this can be further activated and further enlivened, and it can grow, since it's natural and spontaneous and organic. So this is the living experiment, and so I think just even to know to look for it, more of this is going to happen. I think this just opens the doors. So thank you for that thoughtful question, David. Oh, okay. So I want to say again, to underscore that radiant divine love and bliss are the heart of existence. That's what I believe. And so this is my fancy line, that radiant divine love and bliss are the supreme, they are the supreme, all-embracing heart core and mother matrix of existence. So the heart core and mother matrix of existence, divine love and bliss. In very helpful terms, this radiant divine love bliss aids embodiment, especially for those of us who grew up with abuse and trauma, because being in the body is not a pleasant thing. There's emotional pain. Some people, unfortunately, physical pain too, but emotional pain from growing up with trauma and abuse. So the body there's pain there, and, different forms of pain. I had a lot of anxiety. Many people know, I call it funky personality syndrome, FPS. So I did 8 years of therapy, one-to-one therapy, and also deal with obsessive compulsive disorder, which is an exaggerated fear of contamination from hazardous substances. I have hoarding issues, and also that was a fear of intimacy. By grace, there's been a lot of healing, and I'm in a happy, wonderful relationship now, and OCD is not as bad as it used to be. It's not zero. But so this love bliss, it's a balm that is like a lubricant, aids embodiment to be in the body with pleasure and contentment and happiness. And there even can be like emotional dis-ease as a state, it could be anxiety and love bliss happening at the same time, simultaneously, both and. So it definitely helps with embodiment and the embodying process. So, okay. So now I'm going to share something I have never shared with publicly before about my theory of existence. This is the inspiration I came up with today. I mean, it's been cooking in the oven a long time. Okay, so from the ground of Shiva and Shakti, consciousness and capital E energy. So where does this, and love, bliss being the fabric of existence. Okay, so this is my current theory, subject to revision. So I'm going to read this. So the universe of existence is a consummated in love happening, consummation, a spiritual consummation of Shiva and Shakti. Shiva, consciousness, and Shakti, energy, are in full spiritual, Shiva and Shakti are in full spiritually consummated and eternal union, saturated in supreme divine love. And from this consummation, this eternal consummation, results in ecstatic, consummated bliss of full satisfaction. So this existence is a consummated existence of Shiva and Shakti. And there's this term I've heard called bliss consciousness. So this is also where I believe bliss consciousness come from, is this like that you can't even conceive, but there's an eternal weddedness, union of Shiva and Shakti. It's like spiritual consummation, eternal, infused with supreme divine love, resulting in the ecstatic blissfulness of consummation. That's love, bliss. That's my current theory. The theory doesn't matter because it works. I mean, love, bliss is real, but that's my theory about the existence. Okay, so another way of looking at this is from the Shiva and Shakti eternal consummation. It's the wedding of absolute beingness, space, emptiness, a space married with absolute energy and fullness eternally. So it's simultaneous emptiness and fullness happening simultaneously all together. So absolute emptiness, absolute fullness married, that's existence. So you have this supreme ultimate consummation, emptiness and fullness. That's another way of looking at it. Okay. Oh, this allusions to consummation, the love bliss, when it magnifies and there's this love bliss intoxication, there's a similar feeling of the happiness and afterglow of wonderful love-filled sexual communion. So this is using the consummation metaphor for existence. So it's a little out there, but that is my current theory. And it's this model of as above, so below.